Sup? It's me, Moose. Today we will be talking about spooky. It's spooky time. You know, we're gonna get into the spooky, the silly, and the goofy, and also the disturbing. I think it's very good to know our history. So please open up your books and take notes, because you will be quizzed later. Horror dates back to this thing called Gothic, or Dark Romanticism. And it's, this whole big history thing that you can go down a rabbit hole forever and never come out of. And quite literally, I just don't have the time for that. Edgar Allan Poe. Edgar Allan Poe. This guy right here. I'm gonna take off the hat. Edgar Allan Poe was a big author who wrote the books such as The Fall of the House of Usher and The Black Cat, which I have read both. He probably also did a bunch of other stories. I'll put a list right here. Now, horror is a weird genre. It's always been a weird genre because why make something that is purposely made to disturb you? Think about it. Why do you make movies that are made to make people scared, make people fear, make people disgust? It's not really that fun, even like to watch sometimes. But it always has its dedicated audience, and I'm one of them because I'm insane, obviously. Hey, it's me again, Moose. So, the average attention span is 8.25 seconds, fun fact. So you're probably already tired of me talking about Edgar. So let's talk about Stephen King, who is this more modern version of Edgar Allan Poe, who wrote the book It and The Shining and a whole lot of books and novels that are horror, okay? It's pretty much the sequel to Edgar Allan Poe. Now, I want to talk about one specific one, The Shining. Specifically the movie. I do have the novel. I haven't read the novel. Yeah. Skill issue. Oh, look. I'm in another outfit. It's a different time. Specifically the time, if you are interested, it is 11:48 Thursday, October the 19th at 2023. Hey, the more you know. Anyways, but today we are going to compare, as I said, Stephen King and Edgar Allan Poe, the movie The Shining, and specifically the work that inspired The Shining, The House of Usher, and how their environments tell stories in of themselves. Let's compare two scenes. No. Okay, so after a quick Google search, it's very easy to find out that the House of Usher inspired The Shining. It has a lot of similar scenes with a lot of similar kind of meanings, especially like how the hotel is portrayed. Because the hotel portrays madness. It's almost a being that is alive, and so is the house that is the House of Usher. And that's what I really want to get into, is that type of storytelling. I call it environmental storytelling. Atmosphere, there's a million different ways that you can phrase it. That's what I want to call it. And there are some extremely well done scenes. There's the stable shots, which is the shots of the little kid that's going around the empty hotel, which I think are extremely well done, especially for a 1980s film. And stuff like that, like being able to show the loneliness and depravity of the hotel. And also it's done really well in the 1837 book by, Mr. Edgar Allan Poe that inspired this book. Yeah. And so, but the thing is that it explains this dark place. It explains this dark, decrepit place where only a man and his maid lives, I believe. And like most of the family's dead. This guy's a crazed schizophrenic who reads books all the time and is consumed by this book. Well, not by like a library almost. That's like what it's described as. And he sees constant visions of this people and talking to himself. He even talks through the illusion of the maid and then dies of his own fears. And it's a whole allusion to the fact of the fear of death. Pretty kid-friendly stuff. And The Shining is a really good example of how it can one-up that. I think it does it in a great way. Because the hotel, first of all, it's a hotel. Hotels are objectively cooler than a house. Like, think a house, like, it's a house. Come on. Hotels are pretty cool. There's like multiple rooms. That's something. Think about it. Anyways, but the thing is that the hotel is always empty. He's writing a book about the hotel. He's writing a book, and it consumes him, and it makes him go mad to the point of which, he kills tries to kill his whole family. And, classic Stephen King stuff. And the thing is that it shows madness in a very similar manner. And I'll go over 2 scenes in particular. They're very famous scenes. My personal favorite scene that really shows just the pure madness and is actually very similar to one of the final scenes of The House of Usher is the room Jack enters room 237. That scene is when he enters the room and he goes to the bathroom. And so he goes to this bathroom and he looks at a bathtub. And I cannot show this scene because what happens after is that a woman comes out, completely nude. Not hiding anything, And already that's pretty weird. Like, the shower isn't running. There's nothing really going on. Like, you don't know who this woman is. Like, imagine you went into your own bathroom and a random woman just walked out of your shower. Pretty weird. But he treats it almost as normal and shows that Jack's descent through the last, hour or so that you've been watching. And so he treats it as normal, and he goes to the person, but then looks in the mirror of the bathroom and sees that, the body is decrepit and is, rotting. And, shows the descent as well. There's a lot of metaphors done in it. And that is one of my favorite scenes because of how it represents that descent. This is the final scene in The House of Usher. Now, at this time, Mr. Usher, who I'll call him that because his name was a really complex. Hey, that's me. Even more sleep-deprived moose. The name's Roderick. From Diary of a Wimpy Kid. His name's Roderick Usher. It wasn't complicated. It was the 1830s, come on. The names were Mr. Dimmelfloff Usher went to the house, and he went insane. Yep. That's the gist of it. But at the end, they lock his maid in a room to bury her and make sure that the disease that Usher contracted wouldn't spread out, I guess. That's what it was explained as. It was explained as a disease. That's the reason that the maid died, so they trapped her in a vault for some reason. It's very weird because Usher thinks that he has the disease. I feel like I would compare his character to something like Chuck from Better Call Saul. But, this guy is, crazy about his diseases and thinks that and is trying to be taken care of by this unnamed character that you've been reading about for, the short story. And so he traps this woman in a vault. And I'm not sure how secure his vault is. I don't even know if the woman's actually dead. Then again, she comes back to life, but we'll get back into that. She comes back to life at the end. And by this time, he's already being read a book because he's having an anxious breakdown at the end of the story. He kind of just goes, she's coming back to life, and he's having hallucinations. He's being, paranoid schizophrenic. That's the whole thing. He's being a really paranoid schizophrenic, and it's low-key kind of depressing, and having this shared sadness because his house is depressing and decrepit and feeling like it's falling apart. But he's just having this giant panic attack being fearful of the maid coming back to life and he's gonna die and, he's gonna die alone. You know, old man stuff. And so, but then they hear this loud thumping. Well, not thumping. They hear like a loud metal. I hate my squeaky chair. They hear this very loud, like, metal clashing across the house. Like someone is, like, the Hulk or something is on the other side of the building, like a tornado. Yeah, I'll say like a tornado's hitting. Like, a tornado just hit the other side of their house, and there's someone trying to walk through it. And so, they're naturally worried about it, because it's not something that he just imagined up Mr. Usher, the crazed schizophrenic. No, this is something that everyone is kind of like, excuse me, what was that? And so, they try to go in and investigate, but before they can investigate, the door is already being opened. They open the door, and you know what they see at the door? They see the maid. The maid has somehow came back to life and walked through the door, and she's like covered in blood. Just covered in blood. Who knows, maybe even human feces. But quite literally, it's just, like, she's just covered in something. It's described as blood, just, like, covered in blood. I can just imagine it. This right here from the Shining scene. I mean, as I said, similarities, but then again, it's horror. It's gothic horror, so of course there's gonna be blood, maybe some feces. I need to stop bringing up feces into this. Okay, but as I said, she comes in covered in blood, like her entire gown is just drenched. Like, she came out of a water park. She came out of the hotel scene from, like, she directly just went into the elevator in The Shining. When the blood came rushing out, and she just doused herself, just had a field day, and she just casually walked out, and she went, oh, well, she didn't actually talk. She kind of just walked in, yeah, and Mr. Usher is like freaking out, and the main character, or the guy that you're talking about, because the guy that you're actually reading about doesn't have a name. It's never talked about. I don't know. We'll call him Jimmy. Yeah, but Jimmy's just like looking around, and he's just like, he's just astonished, stunned even, absolutely flabbergasted. And so, he's like, dude, I need to get out of here. But Mr. Usher, he's having a field day. He goes to the lady covered in blood and was presumed dead, and just goes there, gets on his hands and knees and starts praising her and starts opening his arms and going, take me away, pretty much. And then he died of his own fears. And by fears, I mean he literally died on the spot, presumably by a heart attack, I would assume. So, of course, Jimmy left. And then Jimmy looked behind and saw the house, and it was depressing, as always. The good ending. Now, I could talk about the black cat. However, that would have to be compared to something like Pet Sematary, which I don't feel like doing. But hey, that's why we got the end of the semester thing. All right. Bye. I'm very tired.